Okay, so one of the reasons I like this method here so much of using these planes with materials on them, as opposed to say the image planes, which I know that's a different way of doing that here. I kind of like this method here because, well, I guess you can do that with image planes too, but I like this method here because it's just so direct. Like these are like physical things in the scene, and I have like complete control of them. I can manipulate the materials and stuff. So for example here. Let's I've got them in a layer, and I've just selected this. I right clicked and added the selected objects to that layer here. If I wanted to make any changes to them here, what I could do here is, let's just say we wanted to change that material. And another thing here, a really great a great thing here that I've done is to just put that material on like all the reference images, like the top, the side view, and the front view. It's all in one square, and that way we don't really have to fit this to a special sized image. It just fits. Anyway, one thing I can do here is you can choose. You can choose different things here. In my case, I do have the transparency here. Let's break this connection here. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to break the transparency here, and here it is against a sort of a white background, I guess. But if you didn't have this here, you could just like you know just bring down the whole thing like this, and that would kind of fix that. But we're taking advantage of the cutout mode here with the transparency. So that's what's going to happen there. Let's just put this away here for now. So I'm going to just go back to my layers and just simply hit the little box there until it becomes an R. And we're about ready to start modeling here. So with this guy here, it's pretty straightforward. Let's start with this. Look, let's start with the top of the head here. And so if we look at the design here, this thing here is meant to sort of roll back and reveal whatever weapon we want to have like just pop out of his head. It's kind of I don't know, it's kind of sort of like an Inspector Gadget type design that you can just sprout out anything out of his head, and some sort of tool or whatever that he needs at the moment. But it all is sort of like hidden underneath this stuff here. So the whole sort of the thing here is that this top dome, it sort of rolls back into the head here and just sort of retracts, and we reveal the thing here. So that being said, we need a dome in here. So I'm going to make that dome by making a sphere. So I've just basically taken the polysphere here, and I'm going to bring that up here, and let's do this. Let's right click on this, and I'm going to go to, I'm going to change the material attributes for the default shader, which is the Lambert 1. So what I'm going to do with the Lambert 1, again, Lambert 1 is like the default material that goes on just like anything you ever create. What I'm temporarily going to do is just turn the transparency down a little bit so I can see through the model and just actually sort of reveal the reference image underneath. Again, I really do care about like the construction of the model and what you call the wireframe. So I want to see these lines here on it, and the way I'm going to get that here is by clicking on this little thing here on the top of the viewport here. There's this little cube with a sort of frame around it. If I click on that, that gets me the wireframe, and I'm just simply going to position that right there. You know what? Let's not guess. Let's actually just position that specifically at the pivot. This is kind of what one of the most important parts here of this whole idea of hard surface modeling. So here I've pretty much just centered that sphere to pretty much the center of that sort of hinge. Let's call it a hinge. And I'm just going to put that right about there, and we can just further adjust this size of this dome here this way. So right now I find that maybe these 20 sides, maybe that's a little bit much. Let's have that be 16. I'm going to take the radius here, and For any of these attributes here that I want to change, I can just select the word. I'm going to hold down my middle mouse button, and you can just adjust it there. And you can see because I scaled it to that pivot here, it kind of, it kind of fits. I think mostly it does, and maybe I'm a little off, but maybe something like that would do well. And yeah, this is cool. I like that. Only thing is, I don't need a whole sphere. I need half of it. So at this point here, I'm going to right click and let's go to Faces. And let's choose a viewport. Any one of the orthographic views will do. I think, when you say an orthographic view, it means like um, something that has no perspective. Actually, I take that back. Any one except the top one, either the side or the front. I'm going to just draw a marquee around half of the, let's say, the hemisphere of that sphere, and I'm just going to delete that out of the picture like that, and so that gets me pretty much half of a, it gives me the dome I'm looking for here. And here, because I zeroed out the transforms here, here's the cool thing about this here. If you really take the time to sort of clean up your reference here, what I can do here is just center this to like the 0 position on X, and I know it's going to line up here. So that's that. And one more thing here. Let's just do this just a little bit more here. Yeah, that should work because I do have these little guys here, and I'm going to line that up to where that needs to be. So that looks pretty good. Sure, that'll work. Yeah. You know what? Here, let's just have that just straight in the middle here, and I'll adapt my reference to that. Okay, so I've got that part here. The next part here, well, what I could do is I can make a cylinder here by selecting the cylinder here, and I'm gonna just hold down X here at the center. You can just line it up about that size here, and now just maybe pull it up. There we are. Pull it up in that direction. So here we are. We can get that that sort of thing in here. Again, I don't know if I want 20 axes, but maybe I do. Maybe 20 axes will work. One thing to do here with this is I can start thinking about the construction of the object. I know I want like a little sort of a rim here at the top, maybe at the one at the bottom here. So I could address that right now by choosing some subdivisions on the height. So here I'd have like the top rim, bottom rim, and you know what? We don't really need the other one here. One thing that's kind of interesting while I'm addressing this here is I could also put some caps in there here. So what a cap is on the cylinder here, so if I select this and I hold down my middle mouse button, you can put sort of something like that in there, and that gets me the ability to make like a little sort of a hole or something in there. Let's go with that, and then I think this is about as much as I can do with this. I could now just go in here to the edges, and we can take this cap here, for example, and I'm just going to double click this this loop here. Let's hide the reference. See, this is the great thing about the references here. I can just get rid of them. Here, I'm just going to double click this, and let's make this a little bigger by using the scale tool. And then finally in here, let's do this. Just straight down the middle here, I'm going to make a little marquee. Select that, and then just delete these centers here, because I'm going to fill that up in a different way here. This, I guess what we can do here, let's do this. Let's have that sort of about that size. This, I'm going to just double click that line and bring that up here, like so. And we can just bring that guy down there. Let's do this. For that rim here, what I think I want to do now is I want to make this part here a little bigger, so it sort of grows out of that shape here. So I'm going to select this and then shift select the loop, right? And if I just double click this on the polygon that's next to it here, I'll have selected the entire loop. You can do this way here. Now, if you just extrude, let's just press this button here. This menu comes up here, and what I like to do here is just work with the thickness here, and the thickness will give you sort of a straight extrusion here without it growing in the normal direction. So if I do this, this looks pretty good too, but depending on the shape that you have, this might grow in the direction of the normal, or let me say the direction of the facing of the polygon. Is that right? Yeah, that should look, that's perfect. That's perfect. On this side here, I'm just not seeing, I'm not seeing the height because it's hidden behind this jet here, but that is going to be good, and this looks more or less like the body that I'm looking for here. So with this in place here, I can now roll this dome back into the head, and we can reveal the weapon or the item that he's going to be using. And that's pretty much what I get in here. Let's just hide this here and just to sort of finish some of this stuff up. I guess what I could do, you know what? Let me just make this this material. I'm going to make it solid again because I kind of know where I'm going with this, and I'm finding it little distracting here. But here, so here, this is my model here, and one thing I do want to deal with here is I want to cover up maybe this part here. Let's check this out here. So I'm going to just double click this loop, and I'm going to grow out a piece here of this, and maybe just pinch this down in here so we can have I don't know, we can have like a something in here. Let's do something here. I'm going to just hide this piece here temporarily. And in here, you know what? This is kind of wasted space in here. I could probably just delete this one loop here by selecting it, and then I'm just going to press Control and right click, and I'm going to go to Edge Loop and just delete that here, and that gets rid of that that whole thing. What I like about that, as opposed to just selecting this and deleting it here, this, it looks like it did the trick here, but if you look at the vertices here, we've got all these little sort of residual vertices to clean up here. So I prefer, if we're going to do this here, then just double click the edge, select the entire loop, press Control, right click, and go to Edge Loop and delete, and that does the whole thing, and you won't have any more vertices in, underneath here. So now I think I'm kind of done with this here. I mean, what we could even do here, didn't really think about this too much. What I could do here is just take this edge here and say maybe this edge down here. And actually, you know what? Let's take the whole thing, this and this whole thing here, so. And I'm going to create what you call a bridge. Now, as long as the sides here are the same, you can create a bridge. So that means, like, there's 20 sides on this opening, and there's 20 sides here on this other opening here. And if I do the bridge command, then that does that. So we could do that. I don't know if I want this to be hollow like this. I think what I would rather do here is just put an extrusion here, so you can extrude edges as well. And from here, I'm just going to drop this down here somewhere to the bottom here, and then let's do this. I'm going to just make another extrusion here, and at this moment it exists. So I'm going to just bring this down here, and we'll just keep that open for now. Let's do this. I'm going to do the same thing here, and then just bypass that whole thing by pressing R. I think I'm just going to collapse this to the center here. So I'm going to select this entire group of edges here, and you're going to see a little icon here with an X on it, sort of. That's the collapse command. You can also get to it here by going to Edit Mesh, and you'll see, here it is, collapse, right? So you can do that, and that does that sort of thing. It's slightly off here, but I can fix that, and I'll show you guys this great way to fix those things in just a second here for simple things. Same thing here. So that's a little skewed. I'm going to right click here to this center vertex here, and let's go here. Let me show you something really cool. So for precision things here, I'm going to go over to this other hammer that I mentioned, I think in the one of the first videos or something. But in here, this this gives you the modeling toolkit, and on the modeling toolkit here, I can see the precise location of this vertex here. So right now I'm actually dealing with a scale, and of course it's all going to say 1, but let's press W and get to the move tool, and this shows you the exact position of that vertex here. So it's on this for the X, and this for the Y. So X is the red, Y is green, and then blue is Z. So I'm actually going to leave Y alone, and I'm just going to zero out X, right? And Z. Whoops, 0. Press Enter, and that goes to the center here. So this is really helpful for all sorts of things later. So that's all done. Another thing here, just to show you guys some things here. Another way I could have fixed this here. Let's just go back here. I'll tell you what. Let's just go back here and delete this here. Here's another way that we could have done this here, although I don't know that I like this too much because of all the cleanup work that I'm going to have to do afterwards. So I've got this big opening here. What I could do that is kind of fast, I could go here, well initially it's fast, I could go here to where it says mesh, and there's this command here that says fill hole. So here, if I go here to mesh, fill hole, that pretty much just fills in that. Problem with this here, and you'll see this later, is that it doesn't, it just fills the hole here, and I've got this huge n-gon, and when I say n-gon, it simply means like a polygon with more than 4 sides. So I've got all sorts of sides here, and if I don't cut them up into quads or tris, then Maya is going to do it. But Maya or your game engine or whatever, it's going to do it for you. All right, let me show you something here. Very important. Okay, so let's take the sphere. There we are. So let's call this. Let's give this a name here. So as I start adding complexity to the model, head dome. Right? As I start adding complexity to the model here, it's going to be sort of important for me to know where these things are, or to just identify them here. So let's call this body. Oh, one more thing here. With this simple shape, this is really simple. I don't care about any of this stuff here, so I'm going to just delete the history. I'm going to go to Edit, Delete by Type, and delete the history. And there you go. So this is just the shape of this body here. All right, so the next part here that I want to show you here is the hinge for this character here. See, that's a little big. Yeah, that's a little big. Let's go back in here. I'm going to press 4. And let me take this this little, what do we call this? This rim, and I'm going to press R to get the scale. I'm going to make it big enough so that it has sort of an opening that this thing could sort of slide into like that. That looks a little better. All right, cool. All right, so as for the hinge, let's look at it here. This thing will slide around. I believe that's the axis right there. Yeah, so right here. Let's let's create a little. Here's a little trick that I like to do here. So I'm going to just select that vertex there. Is that right? Oh, this is the front. Of course, that's not right. All right, so right about here. Yeah, right here. That's the vertex I'm looking for. And I'm going to just take this one, and let's take the opposite one right here, I believe. Is that right? Yep, that's right. So if right across from each other here, I've selected these 2 little vertices right here, just straight across. And the trick here, the trick here is I'm going to create a little average center here. And then let me just go ahead and do it. Well, yeah, I could do this here, and let's go to deform, and I'll put a cluster. And what this cluster does, usually a cluster is a deformer that lets you sort of manipulate like specific vertices here, and you pick them, and then you can just move them around. It gives you something to pull them around with here. Kind of like bones or joints that you'd be dealing with like rigging and stuff. They're a little bit more generic, and I don't know if it is versatile with joints and bones. Joints or bones, it's the same thing. But what I really do like about this, though, is this gives me something to snap to. So it means like, if I wanted to create an object here that were centered at that perfect center, then I could go ahead and do that here. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do this here. So with that center, let's go back and hide this here. this time, let's go and make a hinge for that, and I'm going to go here to the side. I'm going to create something about that big, right? I'm kind of winging this at this point here. I could compare it to the reference. Yeah, there you go. So we can compare it to the reference here. Let's take this circle here. I'm going to just scale that down to about 16 sides. And then I'm going to hold down, this time I'm going to hold down, instead of X, I can hold down V to snap to vertex. And this is the cool thing about the cluster handle here, is the cluster is actually something in my scene. So that means, like, by averaging out those vertices here, I could just snap that. I could just snap that to over to this here, and you see, like here as well, I could snap that to this this center, and that works as well. But you know, if you wanted that to be centered here to the that deformer there, you could do that. I'm going to keep it over here at the side just to make this this hinge, and I really do like this shape here, because if you think about it, I mean, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a circular sort of object. I'm going to take this this edge, and let's pinch that down about that size here. Let's do this. I guess what I could do here is I'm going to just look at it from the side. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select all this stuff here, and that gives me the one thing that I'm interested in, is just really this collection of faces here. That's just going to be easier to do that than to just do one by one of selecting them that way. What I'm going to just do is just look at it from the side, select all this like that, and then you see that gives me that, and then I'll press Control, and you can see my my selection operation now is like negative, and I can just draw another marquee over here and just subtract from the selection, and that leaves me just with that, which is perfect for what I want here. One thing I might want to do here to round out the edges of this thing here is I'm going to take that center edge here, and then by using a bevel, you can make this this corner a little softer here. So that gives us, you know, the fraction gives you sort of like the size of the slope. The segments here, this is cool because now the more segments you have, the rounder it's going to get. But of course, like based on the two, you know, the separate edges here. So I've got this in place here, which is cool. And that is going to get me pretty much the hinge that I'm looking for. Where did I put the head? And this is why we name things here, because at some point I'm going to start having a bunch of things. So I'll tell you what, just before we wrap up this part here, I guess what we could do here, yeah, let's do this here. I'm going to take this and let's grab, whoops, this. I'm going to grab this because it needs to connect up to that part here. It just needs to hang over this other part. Is that right? What I'm going to do is just select this, and I'm going to make this sort of come back in to this area here, but I'm not interested in the side anymore. So again, I'm going to press Control, just right click over this, and we can just grow this back in here. All right, so let's see. Yeah, there we go. So right about there. That's what I want. I want this to sort of feel connected to the body there. And I'm just going to go back here to object mode. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. So yeah, that's mainly the sort of the functional part of this. I guess what I did want to show you here, if we look back at the reference here, so let's press 6. Let's hide the geometry here for just a second. All right, so this guy, in fact, let's pull up the object here. So you see he's got these little eyes that they can rotate. The idea here is they can rotate. There are these sort of half circles, and they can rotate it around and make like facial expressions. So that's kind of cool, and they need to sink into the shape of this itself here. Now, normally, I really avoid this technique, kind of like the plague, when you're doing your polygonal modeling. Well, at least for beginners, I would avoid it like the plague, because it requires like a lot of cleanup. So good modeling, it's made of, like, you know, quads and tris and things. But I'm going to show you guys this. This is called a boolean, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to define sort of a shape here for the size of the eye, which is about this size here. Of course, it's going to be smaller, so let's have that be 0.25 or maybe 0.5. I like that, yeah, 0.5. That looks about good. Let's have that about that size here. And just because I don't feel like cleaning that much up, let's just take this to say 12 or 16. Usually when I do these circles here in polygonal modeling, I like to have them like divisible by 4 because it's just, you know, easy to deal with. All right, so here I'm going to use that trick that we were talking about here to position these eyes here. So I'm going to press V to snap to vertex here. I'm going to find a vertex here that I want to snap to. So maybe, whoops, let's get rid of this. I'm going to press V and just snap along one of these things here, and we can have it sort of arranged like this to that side. So, you know, if we want to think about, like, you know, where this eye is according to this, so you position it where you want, like that. Just make sure that when you do that here, you're going to remember where this thing is here. So let's do this. I'm going to press Control D. Now, okay, check this out. Now here's a little sort of problem solving we have to do here. Let me explain how this technique works. So I'm going to take my original cylinder and I'm going to keep it here. And let's press Control D to make the copy for it here. Here, let's just do that again here. So let's unhide this. I'll just make a backup copy of the cylinder. What is this? Polycylinder. Let's call that hinge. Right. This is going to be eye. Eye socket, we can call it. I'm going to press Control D. And we'll get a copy of the eye. I'm going to use the copy of the eye to make the hole, right? Because I'm going to make what you call booleans. So I have the original shape, and then here I'm going to take the thing I want to subtract from it here, and I'm going to go here to mesh, and I'm going to go to booleans, and we're going to use the difference, and you can just apply that. What you're going to get, what is this? Oh, that's my original eye. So just temporarily, I'm going to hide that. So I'll press Control H. That gives us this. And some of you guys may be thinking, wow, that's amazing. Why didn't we do this in the first place? Well, the reason we didn't do that in the first place was that it's a big mess, you know. So just to show you here, you know, again, the principle of like good modeling is always like to model with four-sided polygons and stuff like that. So if you're gonna try to go for that, then this is a great big mess, and I'm going to have to fix this here so that Maya doesn't end up dividing things, you know, how it chooses here. So it would probably be a really good idea for me to just try to figure out where to tie these into either three-sided polygons or four-sided polygons, because that's all that Maya really works with here. And I'm just using the multi-cut tool to do that. You can do that this way, here and here. Let's enter. Let's go in here. Whoops. If you make a mistake when you're cutting, you can just hold down just tap backspace and just delete the other you know, delete the thing that you're drawing. And here you can see I kind of did make a mistake. Oh, actually no, this is not a mistake. So maybe I could have been a little bit more careful with this, and you know, maybe just to round it out. I don't know if I like this, but I could just use the target weld to sort of, they're almost like redundant, so maybe if it's close enough I might not notice it here. But anyway, I would just go and continue fixing that. So now I've got this eye socket here, and with the remaining piece that I extracted, now this is very important, because I rotated it in this this position here, I need that orientation to be the same here. So it's very important that this doesn't move here. So let's bring that back here. Only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just maybe scale this down a little bit here, and the transform needs to maintain the same. And I can just do my modeling with the rest of this by doing this stuff here. Let's just take this, maybe here, and now let's just get rid of that stuff because I'm only interested in this again. So I'm going to do my extrusions here by doing this stuff, and it's oriented to the according to the model here. So, you know, it's very important that it's oriented to the object here and not the world, because if it's oriented to the world, then it's going to try to sort of shape that thing to the world's orientation here. So, you know, your transforms should be doing this sort of thing. Like if that thing is it's meant to be at an angle like this, that's just sort of consideration for you here. I mean, not with everything, but on my specific example, yeah. So in here, let's give them sort of an eye that's sort of sticking out. Yeah, with this, oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. This isn't a full circle, although it could be, but then that defeats the purpose of having this little rotating mechanism here. So we could do this, and then, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's hide everything else temporarily. So I'm going to press Alt-H, and that hides the unselected objects. I'm going to delete all this stuff out of the picture here that I'm not dealing with here for the moment. Take this, and easy way to do this here is we could create a bridge. I like the bridges because the bridges, you know, it just draws a polygon from here all the way across here. So if I subtract these guys from the selection, now I've got, like, you know, one side that's able to meet the other side, and I'll just fill this in with the bridge here. So here, to do this, whoops, what's up with that? Sure. Oh, of course. Oh, okay, yeah, so my mistake. Yeah, that's not going to work. Not for now, but let's do this. I'm going to just select this. I'm going to press Control. I don't know if you guys caught that here, but the point is like I have this little loop here, and of course this isn't going to work. It's a different number of polygons. So unless I have a loop here of some sort, then these edges are not going to line up. So let's get rid of this loop just for the time being. So I'm going to press Control, right click, and let's go to Edge Loop. And let's just delete that here. And that was just, you know, just a little something that I did here. I got a little ahead of myself here. But here, just these two, this is all I need. It's much simpler than, you know, than I imagined here. So I just have these two edges here, and I'm going to just make them meet up with these here. And I can press the bridge command. You do that, that lines up. Yeah, that's all I need here. Yeah, I do see why I wanted that. Oh, sure. You know what? No, never mind. We could keep that here. I think I might like the perfection of that outline, but we can do this as well. So here I'm going to make the extrusion here. This is probably a reason here where I might want. Well, I guess I could do it with the scale tool too. That looks kind of cool. And we can pull that out maybe, and now maybe just pinch it in. Push it in, sorry, and then let's just scale that in here as well. That looks kind of cool. Yeah, I guess that looks kind of cool. You know, and that gives me that half circle that I'm looking for. I think that's upside down. So let's show the last hidden. Yeah, that's upside down. So the nice thing about this here, it's very important that we keep the transform. This is the way it's going to work now. So like if I rotate that around like that, you know, then you know, this is the way that his eye is going to work. So let's do this. I'm just about, well, I mean, of course I could do a lot of cleaning up here because this is really ugly geometry, but let's say we've done that. We can mirror this out to the other side. Now, one bit of advice that I may have for you guys here, this is going to take me some work, and I'd recommend that you do this work because it's better to do it once than to do it twice. So, you know, just clean this up. And then what I would recommend actually is, you know, if we're going to have to UV edit this thing later, let's do it now. You know, let's do it now on half of a model. Anyway, there's a ton of different ways to map this out, and it's, you know, it's not really like right or wrong. It's just like, you know, some of it is going to be more adequate to what you're doing or not. But anyway, my point is, do everything you need to do in advance, because now you could just take this, once this is done and it's perfect and it's the way you want it to be when you paint on this, now you could just take this and just mirror this over to the other side, and there you go. I didn't have to do that again. And very importantly, um, uh, this stuff lines up. That's really, really important, because if this is precise, it's all about the transforms. I can't just guess and wing it. If it's supposed to be symmetrical, then you really want to make sure that it is. Check this out here. So here, I've got this eye. Let's, let's call this left eye. So I'm going to put a little L before the, as a prefix here. What is this about? Oh, no, this is, let's call that head. Whatever. But this thing is going to be gone here. So let's just delete the history on I. I'm going to press edit, delete by type. Let's go to history and just delete. And there we go. It's just head dome. Just change the name. So with this, I need this on the other side. Now with this is a little bit tricky here. So very, very important is the transform to this, and this needs to belong to the head. Okay, so I can't just copy this and just be like, okay, I'm going to just do it this way, and that looks pretty good, and I'm just going to try to fit it in there. I mean, I could, but it's very, very unlikely that I'm going to get the perfect transform. So here's a smarter way of doing that here. So this, I'm going to take that eye, then it rotates around that axis, like specifically. I'm going to put that in its own little group. So you can take this as it is and just press Control G. And when you create a group, it automatically goes to the center of the world here. So you can do it that way, right? And then, just to complete my thought here, if you do that, what I would do is I would just take the group itself, and not the child or not the thing inside the group, not the I. I want to take the group itself and press D. And then here I could just, take this, and I really don't care that much about this here. I mean, it's just going to be parented to the dome, but if you really were, I don't know, picky about it, you could just center that to this and just call it a day here. And that would be parented anyway. Or that would be parented to this here. So anyway, let's take group one and let's call this left eye group, right? And it doesn't, it feels like I'm being picky here, but it's important here that I'm doing this. What I'm doing here is I'm creating a little sort of an outside thing that I'm just going to mirror the transform here, or the behavior for this thing. So the point here is like this eye is sticking out a certain way, and it's perfect. So I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to put this inside a group, and I'm going to press Control D. Let's take this and let's make the right eye. Now, very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top group here, again, that contains the copy of the eye, and I'm going to come here to where it says scale, and I'm going to scale this on -1. And so what that means here is now, if I do this, now the rotations are inverted. They're the same thing, but one, and they're even turning on the same axis here. It's just that the scale is inverted, and now I've got the ability to sort of do that sort of stuff here. Let's go ahead and change these names, because one is specifically a left eye, the other one is a right eye. And check this out. If you're really smart about the way you name things, and I'm sorry I keep mentioning bringing this up over and over again, it's really important to have your stuff organized, because as your model gets more complex, which it will, it just makes things easier to deal with, especially, if you're working with a team and people need to pull things up and say, I don't know, like an animation, or maybe even a program where the programmer might have to access your model somehow. I don't know, whatever it may be, you want your things to be organized here. So look at this. I've created a little naming convention that says L, meaning left. And what I can do here, this is simple. I've only got one thing in this whole group, but let me show you here. This is a great tool under Modify. You have this thing here that searches and replaces names. So that means, like, if I made a point of calling all these things left, and let's say I had a whole arm with right arm, elbows, wrists, fingers, and thumbs, and so on. That's a lot of stuff to rename one by one. So this would be really helpful. I could just have it look for anything that starts with L, and I'm going to replace it with R, right? And so let's go to the top of the hierarchy. That means the group, right? And anything under here, anything that follows, right? You see this little sort of stair steps here? that means it belongs to that group here. So anything that follows the hierarchy here, because I've got that selected, it'll change the name for that. Just like that, I don't have to worry about renaming everything. I could have 20 different pieces under the I group that I wouldn't have to rename them all. So the only thing is, I would just have to rename the little n here because it just replaces L for R. So we can do that, and and that's done. With these guys, I'm finally just going to take both of these guys and let's just drag that into head dome by selecting them both. I'm going to hold down the middle mouse button and then just drag them into here, and this does that sort of thing here. What happened here? So I think my pivot moved. So let's fix that again. So I've got that. This is why this trick here with the cluster is so great, because if you know where something is supposed to rotate from, then you can select, for example, here. Let's just do that again. Let's select this is the hinge, right? The point where it rotates. So you could just go in here and create a cluster, and that goes to that center. And by doing that, that manipulates also that. But I don't care about that. All I want really is something to snap to. So I can take this now and hold down D, right? I've got my move tool selected, and what I'm interested in moving here is the pivot. So I could just tap D to access the pivot. I'm going to bring this down here close enough to this, and from here I'm just going to hold down V. This time I'll keep my finger pressed on V, and I'll just snap to that vertex here. And so in my case here, that cluster, that's actually something that I can snap to. So that's all I need, and now my problem is solved. So I've got my head that I can open up like this. I'm not done yet though. Let me show you something else here. So yeah, I guess I should have thought this through kind of. Yeah, I realized here I don't really want to deal with this, but I do want. Yeah, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I think I started with 16 sides to this sphere, so I'm just going to create another 16-sided sphere, right? And let's go in here and just change the sides to 16. 1, 6, press enter. There we are. And let's bring this here to here. And because I've got this nice little cluster here, again, I can snap to that right there, right about there. There we go. That's cool. And then let's just make that a little smaller. Yeah, that's what I want. Right there. That's cool. And I'll just do the same trick here. I'm just sort of modeling the insides of this here, because I just realized for this example, it's important that we have an inside for this here. So I'm going to just chop off this bottom part of the hemisphere here. Let's do this here. So just so you guys can see, let me just temporarily, let me just hide this. And the intention here is like I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to have to do this again because, well, anyway, here, let's just hide this here. I'm going to flip this inside out. And you can do that quickly just by going to Mesh Display and reversing the normals. Reverse, and that flips it inside out. So now you're not really going to see this, and that's why I'm going to do it from this side. But now it's hollow on the inside. Anyway, let's do this way. I'm going to just temporarily, I'm just going to hide everything but those two spheres. So I'm going to press Alt-H, and that is pretty much the same as going to display, hide unselected objects. And you get this here. The reason I did this here is just because the inside of this, it's simpler than these ugly sort of sockets in here. And I just don't want to deal with that here. So now if I want, so we could go to Mesh Display, or Mesh Tools, I'm sorry, Mesh Display, and we can reverse the normals here. Let's go here. For example, just take this, Mesh Display. We reverse the normals, we're flipping that inside out, and then from here, I could use that trick that I showed you guys with the bridge to connect one piece up to the other. But to do that, I need to have these combined. So I'm going to select this and then Shift select this, and let's go to Mesh, and let's go to Combine. Oh, and it did work. Okay, so I got this sphere. We could do that again, and when I did that here, it sort of averages the the pivot again, so I'm gonna have to fix that. But luckily, I still got the cluster handle. So let's go and unhide that, for example. Um, so I can just select the cluster handle and press Shift H because, well, here's the thing. I see it, I know what it is, and I see it grayed out in the outliner. If I select that and press Shift H, then I can get it back. So whatever is hidden here, I can just reveal it by pressing Shift H in the outliner. So here, I know this is the center, so I can just hold down V for vertex and just snap to that center, and there you go. So this, once again, that rotates on its proper axis. And the last part that's left is I'm going to just sew up these pieces here by selecting the loop here, and then this loop, and then I'm going to create a bridge. And there you go, problem solved, I think. Sort of, more or less, there we go. Yeah, I like that. I think, mostly I like that. Realistically, I think I would probably try to get rid of a little bit of, I mean, we're not really going to see this, so just in terms of like efficiency and modeling here, I'm just going to try to simplify some of this stuff up so that it's a lighter model. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah, there we go. So that's pretty good. And let's just unhide the rest, and yeah, I can just press Shift H. There's the body, and it kind of does what it needs to do now. Just kind of this. You know what? For the arms now, arms I'm going to do a different way here. So let's take a look at the reference here. And I have these these circular things. I don't know. I kind of like the little drawn reference just because it's got so much more character than the finished render here, and I can kind of see what I'm going for here. But just for the purposes of precision, this is kind of what the model looks like. And you can see there's some things that aren't finished here. But anyway, again, I've got kind of a rounded cylinder here maybe. So here on the side view, let's go in here, and I'm going to just hit X to center to a grid here. I'll snap that to where it needs to be here in just a bit. Let's grow that out a little bit here. So we've got this. Let's do this. I'm going to just chop off half of this again by right-clicking, going to Faces. I'll delete that. Whoops. Get rid of that little guy right there. Are we missing? Yeah, there we are. And I'll just delete that out of the picture. Here we are. This rotate. This does what it needs to do. That's the center. All right. So I have this this cylinder here for part of the arm, and like I was saying. Well, check this out. Here's what we can do. So if I thought of this through a little bit, what I could have done is just put a division down the middle. But because we don't have that, here's a kind of a little hack that I'm going to do. I'm simply just going to mirror this, and that achieves the same effect here. I've just now got a little hole straight down the, not a hole. I'm sorry. I've got a cut straight down the middle here of this this half a cylinder, and that that's pretty much what I wanted. Let's try something out here. With this, I could get a perfectly round circle with this. In fact, let me see. Maybe we could get it out of this too here. Let's just take this, and remember that trick I showed you guys with the bevel. So what I could do here is what the bevel essentially does is it takes one line and it divides it into two, right? So if I just do this here, I'm starting to get that sort of thing, which I actually like. I like this profile a whole lot. I like that a whole lot because if you look at the design here, it's not like a perfect thing. I mean, if I wanted that, I could do this, and then I could just start bumping up the segments here. Come on, there we go. And if I do that, now that would be like a perfectly round circle, which I guess I kind of do like that. If you, let's see where we are with this here. So poly cylinder, and here's the poly bevel here. So I could manipulate the segments here so that we have something like that. And if you max it out, then that is going to be like a perfect circle like that, which I really do kind of like here. Let me show you something here that I'm going to need to fix if I want to keep this here. So here, you'll see that is not really connected here. So I'm going to need to, just to sort of show you this problem a little better. When I beveled this out here, this little vertex here is just going to be like laid over the one from the other side. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm just going to select that little strip of vertices straight down the center of my my object here. Be careful when you do this. Don't do it like I just did here, because you may miss and you may get something wrong. So a better way to do that here is to look at it from, say, the front view or the top view. So in this front view, it's a little hard to see because it's hidden behind my robot here. But here on the top view, what I could just do here is just carefully just select that little strip of vertices here. And now if you go to the merge command here, which is this is the icon here. It says merge vertex or merge vertices. You can also find that here under mesh. What is it? Edit mesh. Merge. Yeah, merge. Let's just do this, and we pull up this. I would just make this be a very, very small little amount here, so something very close to 0, like this. And just apply that, and the point here is because it's so close to 0, then if it's close enough, oh, did I miss? Yeah, I did. Because it's so close to 0, then it just picks up, the little vertices under it here, and let's just go and do this here with merge vertices. I like this one a little bit more when you do it from here. It's the merge vertex. And here it's pretty much the same command. Let's just do this a little closer in. I think that will work now. Maybe this wasn't like completely maxed out, but there you go. You see, this is now one vertex, and you're not getting that that sort of thing here. So we could have done that. Another thing here that might have been nice if I thought about it before is like it would have made sense to lay out the UVs beforehand and then just mirror the whole thing over here. But with this sort of this simple shape here, I really like just how nice and circular that thing is. And then here I've got that sort of that straight angle, which is exactly like I want. What I could do here is I could take this part here and then just extrude this out. I'm going to bypass the extrusion settings and just use my regular move tool and just grow this out like that. So if we look at the design here, let's pull that up, I guess. Yeah, so he's got he's got this part here that kind of functions like a hinge right there, and I have a little vertex right there in the center that's going to function as a hinge. But this bottom part here, this is kind of interesting here because our design, let's pull up the little sketch here. Our design, it has all sorts of possibilities, but one of the important things here just wasn't possible with this initial sketch. Let me show you what I did here. I actually drew this here, but with this initial sketch here, I hadn't really thought of all the possibilities yet, but I was realizing it was kind of a fun design. But here, this little jetpack, we could make hands and all sorts of things out of it here. I realized later as I was working with it here that we could just make that bottom part of the jet grow into hands here. So to do that here, what I ended up doing was just growing this out a little bit more. Let's go in here and let's just chop off a little piece right here. And so let's say that this is part of the hand right there. That's about as big as the hand is going to be. You know what? Let's make that a little bigger. Right there. So I got right here, if I do this, I've got a shoulder and a hand down here. And to make that extrusion, just like I did the lip here, the lip or the rim or whatever we want to call this here, I'm going to select that that series of polygons here, and let's click the extrusion button. And then here, I really like this thickness thing because it's kind of neutral. It doesn't like project the extrusion out, and it doesn't go off in weird directions. It just gets bigger from the polygons that you're extruding from. along the normal axis. The normal axis means like the let's say the average direction of the or average facing of that polygon. That's more or less the best way I can explain it for now. So this is what I want here, and this is really cool. This is what I want. Let's do this here. I do want this to be in separate pieces. So let me show you a different command here with this that I'm going to use to make this this thing here. I'm going to right click here, and this part here at the bottom, that's supposed to be a separate piece. So I need to rip that apart from this piece here. And let's, I'm going to press Control to subtract from the selection. Take that. This time I'm going to use a different command here. So I'm going to go to Mesh or Edit Mesh, and I'm going to go down here to the bottom where it says Extract. Right? What Extract does is it breaks things up into two pieces. So here I have the original mesh, and let's see if it kept. Yeah, there it goes. It did keep the center, which is cool. So this is exactly like I want it here. This is still going to share that center with this, which for now is fine. I could just press D and just think about where I want this to be now, like this. And now this is cool because it gives me a separate piece here, and I can make this into to these different pieces. So now I'm going to press Alt H to just isolate this piece. And I guess what we can do here is, well, we could do this in different ways. One way is obviously to fill the hole, like under mesh, and that would give us this, which I don't mind that much. But you know, it is going to take a little fixing up on our part here. I do kind of like I don't know, this a little bit of this here. I'm just not a fan of cleaning up after the computer, but you know what? It could be worse. Let me see if we can do this more directly. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do it that way. I'm just pressing Shift Z to redo the commands here, and because the reason I decided I gave up on the other one here is like I would have to select all those edges here, and it would be about the same amount of time here, or maybe more. Anyway, let's do this, and there we are. So I'll be done with this sometime tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, yeah, so something like this is pretty much what we can do here. I like these neat cuts here that I'm getting. Yeah. You know what? Better yet, here, check this out. This is a triangle. I don't want a triangle. I want quads. So here, that's perfect. This is cool, and that's less polygons to deal with here. So if I just do this, that solves my problem there. And then here, I think just for completion's sake, I'm going to just take this, subtract that. Let's dig this this little outline. I could do that with probably with the offset. See that's what the offset gives me, and I'm going to just dig a hole in this like a cavity in this shoulder here, because that's where the mechanism is supposed to come out from here. And let's push that in here. At this point, you know what? I'm not really going to see any of this here, but I'm going to just push it in here. And you know what? We can just model in something in there if we're ever going to look inside of it here. But I'll be happy with mostly with this. One important thing here, I'm going to just delete the history. And let's hide or let's reveal what we hid. So I'm going to go to Display, and let's show the last hidden. That gives me that. Let's do the opposite now. I'm going to just hide everything that's unselected here. With this guy here, I'm just going to do the following here. I'm going to make a bridge just by double-clicking this, and then Shift double-clicking this. So I've got these two edges. They should line up perfectly. I'm not sure what I want to do with them. If I want them to be, you know, if I want them to be like solid, I think I do. So again, like this is this is why I'm saying you really don't want to be like guessing. You want to know, you know. So this is like a robot's wrist here, and so I'm kind of making this up as I go along. But in here, I think I will just sort of put in the cavity and stuff here. And let's go ahead and fill the hole. And then here I'll just you know, do that fixing up later. Whoops. Let's take this part. I'm going to just bring that in here. Let's just maybe put that in here like so. And then once again, I'm just going to fill the hole in here. And the whole point of this, you guys, this is animation, you know, and this isn't really a machine. So that's one advantage that we have, like as animators, you know, that say an engineer or something doesn't have. It's like, yeah, you know what? I don't know what's under this. Animation is just a magic trick, so I can just stuff all the little mechanisms and stuff inside this housing, and nobody ever has to know that this thing doesn't work. It's just, you know, it's entertainment. Um, anyway, let's take this and let's go here to mesh, and I'm going to fill the hole. Yeah, there you go. So here, you know, and once again, you know, once again, like I'm not really going to see this part here. So for all we know, you know, this part could be a jet or something, and then it could be, you know, I'm just going to hide the fingers and all that stuff that comes out of this stuff, you know, out of this hand. Let's go here, and yeah, so this is pretty much my arm. So I'm going to just take this and parent this up to this. Let's go over here, and I really like the position of that. I'm going to put this somewhere where it looks good. And the nice thing about this here is I've got that center straight in the middle of where that that circle, or that, let's say, that cylinder started out. So at this point here, this is a little big. I know it's a little big, but you know, this is kind of where this thing is going to be. Again, like if you're working with a reference, and if you have a nice reference, you know, um, then my best advice is you really just stick to that, and you know, just try to follow the reference here. I'm kind of making this up as I go along, and I imagine this is getting a little long, so I kind of want to get to the point of some important concepts here that you know, want to go over. Let's talk really quickly about the fingers. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing. In fact, I'll pull up the finished model to show you sort of how it works. But let's talk about um, like making finger joints here. So here's what I have here. Let's jump into this view here, and I'm going to just model one finger here, which I'm going to use to make some other ones here. And you can use this trick to maybe make like I don't know, tank treads or whatever. I don't know, all sorts of things here. So I'm going to just model a cylinder. In this example here, it's just like robot fingers. The point here is just like with everything we've been doing, I have a hinge, right? This thing rotates around that specific center. Just because I don't want to have to deal with as many sides, I could, but I don't know that I want to. So let's just go to 16, and then we could divide that up later maybe. But let's go here with 16. I got my poly cylinder. Okay, at this point, yeah, let's take this, and I'm going to press Control D to duplicate. Let's take this, and I'm going to pinch this down here to about that size, right? So this is going to be sort of a tapered finger, so the angle sort of gets smaller. There's one important thing that I need to show you guys here. So if we pinch this down here, this finger, or the tip of this, it gets thinner this way as well. So I want to fix that. I want this to be the original size because it needs to be that thick. So what I'm going to do here is on the channel box here, I'm going to access, what is that, the X transform. You see how it says 2.9 something? I'm going to just switch that back to 1, and that's the size that it was drawn at, or whatever this is. Yeah, see, that's 1. And here we can start arranging this stuff here. So is that the size that we want? Maybe not. Maybe a little bigger. And let's have this be 1. Yeah, that's what we want. All right, here let's start just editing this stuff here, and using basically, you know, long story short, you guys, what I'm going to do is just chop this off. And let's take this guy, I'm going to chop this off, and I'm going to build a bridge between the two, like so. And the first thing I need to do to combine these, to build a bridge at all, is I've got to combine them. So I'm going to go to Mesh, Combine. All right, so when I combined them here, let's call this finger, right? I'm going to double click and just call it finger, just as an example. I mean, it could be whatever you want. Let's do a different one where I'm going to do a tank tread. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a tank tread next. So I'm going to press Control D, And I mean, this guy doesn't use tank treads, but the robot you're building might or something. I don't know, or maybe you're building something else. But let's take this finger here, and I'm simply going to just double click that loop because it is a loop, right? And very importantly, it's the same number of, uh, of edges that you have on this other side. So all I have to do really is to just double click that, and I'm just going to build a bridge between the two. Is that right? Let's try it here. This and this. Or maybe I was wrong. Let's do this. I'm going to take this and let's delete that. Let's do this. I'm going to take this, Control D, and sure, let's just rotate that over to the other side, 180. And at this point, I don't even care that the pivot's off. I'm just going to take this, and scale X needs to be 1. It's just a little smaller than it should be. I'm going to combine this up. And let's do this. Sorry, right click, let's go to Edge. And then here, whoops, Edge, and let's do the bridge. There we go. So that works. And that's that. I must have had the sides wrong, but the point is these edges, they need to be the same number of edges on the other side, and they'll be able to line up that way. So just with that example here, let's do this again. I'm going to press Control D. Let's undo what we did, which was basically to build that. This time, I'm going to just hollow this stuff out here, and let's do the treads here with this. So, you know, basically I don't need this. I don't need the treads. Long story short, this is all you need to do with the treads. Do this and maybe this. Now keep in mind, you guys, this is kind of, you know, this is, I've seen all sorts of things out there where people are modeling treads and things, and you know, of course you can build a tread with this. Now with this, I don't know that I like this too much because these don't move. They don't really move in animation. So if your thing needs to be animated, then you should probably think about the way you want that to move around. So maybe maybe you can build a curve and do a motion path and stuff, but that's a subject of a different lecture here. So you know, we'll just keep this at this for now. Okay, so now we have this, and I want to show you how we might go about making this, you know, actually usable. Let's take this, and I'm going to use those little points right here to make a cluster. And again, the purpose of the cluster here is so we have something that we can snap to. So that little C, that's actually going to behave like almost like a vertex in our case here. So I've got the pivot here, which is at the object center, and I'm going to just move that over here, and I can actually now get really, really precise if I hold down V for vertex, and I can just snap there to the center, and that's all we need. So what's cool about this is now I'm back to where I was before, and that thing moves like it should. So here we can build another another thing in here, and let's actually build this finger up like this. Let's widen this up a little bit, and then in here, let's do this. I'm going to just take a loop. I'm going to put a loop in there and a loop in there. Does that work? Yeah, that kind of does. And let's just chop off. Whoops. Let's go to this object. I'm going to right click, go to face, and let's chop off that section. Whoops. Yeah, so this is the part I want to chop off, and I'm just going to delete that out of the picture there. And that, actually, this is a copy now. You know, it's a copy of the first finger. So what I could do, I mean, you know, if we wanted to adjust the pivot, we just try that trick again. But here, this works perfectly, you see, and all I would really have to do is to fill those little holes up here. I would recommend doing this as a bridge. You know, maybe an easier way to do that is just to take this and then shift select that bottom edge here, and then build a bridge like that, right? And then probably from here, just for the time being, to make things fast, I could just use the fill hole command. So mesh, was it mesh or is it edit mesh? Mesh, yeah, there you are, fill hole. and that does that, you know. And so here, you know, I've basically got this shape here. Oh, right. Oh, okay, here it is. So that's the pivot, and that works really nice. And this is the last thing that I need to do if this were what I was really going for, like, you know, a finger here, then I would just lastly just parent that up. I'm taking this, shift selecting the top thing, and then just pressing P to parent, and that does what I needed to do. So I could build the whole hand out of that technique, and then finally I'm just going to tuck it in here. And let's pull up. Um, yeah, let's pull up the finished model here that that I want to show you, just to sort of explain how this works. I actually made animations for this, but let's pull this up. So here, how does this work? Yeah, there we go. Um, anyway, yeah, I've rigged this up and stuff, but let's see. Yeah, as you can see, yeah, all right, yeah, here we go. So just in terms of the design here, this is, I don't know, I kind of find this fun. Just like thinking in terms of animation and stuff like that. Uh, but I understand some of it's kind of a pain. But the point is, using those techniques that I just talked about here, I kind of came up with this little mechanism where I have this little cylinder, this little, I don't know what you want to call it, a cylinder and stuff. But and this grows out of that cavity in here, and then you know, to reveal the thumb, and it's an opposable thumb. You know, I had to come up with a different mechanism, but all using the same tricks I just talked about here. This little piece here, this is a door, and the door, you know, it's just an extracted strip of polygons around that little vertex here. And pretty much by doing all that stuff here, I get that. Let me put it back in its place here. Let me just show you, see if I can pull up the animation here with this and just show you how it's done, or how this was put together. So where are we? So this little guy I'm using here, this is a little script, an old script that I've been using for some time, and it's called the Move Lister. And what's cool about this is for animation, it's got, it's, you know, for game animations, you can just, for example, here, what I'm looking for is this idle hands. Oh no, extend hand stomp is the name of the animation. So here it goes from frame 200 to 235. You just press that, and it automatically sets the timeline to whatever the range of the animation is here. Anyway, we're not talking about animation here, but I just want to show you how this works. So here, you know, just for you to see this thing in action, so you can see the fingers sort of growing out of the main wrist piece here, and you know, and then at some point, where are we? Yeah, at some point the hand sort of retracts there. There's a little bit of an error in this animation here, where this thing is sort of penetrating that geometry here, but you know, that should get fixed. But anyway, all this stuff, it comes out of the original shape, and you know, and that's kind of where it comes from. But using these techniques, you should be able to achieve like a lot of different things. I think, you know, just to sort of wrap up the video here, to summarize things, the important thing that you want to think about here is the important thing that you want to think about here is the pivots. You know, so like, how is this thing supposed to move, and how is it supposed to animate here? What you're seeing here, let's not concern ourselves with this just yet. This is called a rig, right? And this is like the strings of this puppet, and I'm able to use this, you know, however I want, create my animations here. This center thing here, this isn't even in the final model. This is just a sort of a placeholder for now. In the game, it's able to generate like let's say a bunch of different um, little tubes, kind of like I don't know, like a Dr. Octopus sort of thing, if you will. But anyway, as for the modeling, I think that's mainly you know, the techniques we covered here. You should be able to sort of get all those shapes by manipulating the pivots. You know, we talked about extraction, you know, extracting shapes over from the other things. We talked about booleans here for the eyes. But all this stuff here, you know, it should, it's all based on like the rotations of these things. So the point I guess I wanted to make with this is like, you know, the transforms, where things are um, in like 3D space. It's important, you know, it's important if you ever want to move these things. So do keep that in mind when you guys are modeling, and you know, I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with in terms of your hard surface models. So thanks for watching.